Mm. And I wanted to ask you guys out there. I see a lot of people in the chat room and on Facebook. We definitely appreciate you guys tuning into the Beautiful Butterfly Show. And if you guys are just tuning in, we are on with Dr. Umar Johnson, you guys. And as I told you guys, we're going to be talking about the power of propaganda. And so, Dr. Umar, for the folks out there, because a lot of people aren't familiar with this, explain to folks what is propaganda and how it affects us.
Propaganda is informational warfare. Propaganda is the art of changing people's minds about what you are doing so you do not have to take their lives. Let me say it again. Propaganda is the art of changing people's minds and opinions about who you are and what you are. Let's say you live in my house and I'm domestically abusing you, okay? You either want to fight back or you want to leave. So if I want to make you a willing accomplice to the domestic abuse, I'm going to have to do what? Create a propaganda campaign of one against another one that seduces you into believing that what I am doing to you is what should be happening to you. This is exactly why black women, or any women for that matter, in a domestically abusive relationship do not leave their abuser. Because not only is he physically abusing, he's psychologically manipulating her thought process into thinking that she cannot be anything without him, and that the abuse that she is receiving, she actually earned it. So propaganda is powerful. America spends no less than $500 million a year on propaganda. $500 million a year on propaganda. The CIA, the FBI, the United States government employs thousands of psychologists, thousands of psychiatrists, thousands of media specialists. They employ thousands of people who participate directly or indirectly in the art of propaganda so they can control the citizenry. Government control or effective government is the art of making your victims believe that you are operating in their best interest. And by the way, to really study propaganda, one has to study Adolf Hitler. You would have to study Adolf Hitler. I'm not a supporter of Adolf Hitler. I am not a fan of Adolf Hitler. He had nothing but contempt for African people, and he exterminated 50,000 Africans at least while he was exterminating European Jews in Nazi Germany. So I'm no fan. But Adolf Hitler and his propaganda minister, Joseph Goebbels. If anyone wants to study the art of propaganda scientifically, you must study Joseph Goebbels, Goebbels. I might be spelling it wrong. It may be ALS, but you have to study him. He is the man who is responsible for Adolf Hitler's rise to power. He is the man who systematically taught Adolf Hitler how to control the minds of Nazi Germany towards furthering his own end. And basically, as Hitler said, coming from Goebbels, he said, if you want to control people, do not make the lie too big. Do not make the lie too complex. He said, it is very easy to control people. Keep the lie simple. Keep the lie consistent. Tell it over and over again. And if you do this, people cannot help but accept your lie as the truth. He's absolutely right. Why? Because psychologically, the brain is the creature of repetition. Yes, we are very intelligent people, but guess what? We are only as intelligent as the repetition of the lies that are put before us. If I tell you you ain't nothing every day, sooner or later, your brain will accept that. Black people have been told that they are nothing for 400 years. Sooner or later, you will accept that. White people have been told that they were superior for 400 years. Sooner or later, you will accept that. I don't care how intelligent you think you are, your brain will always and forever be the victim of repetition. It doesn't matter how big the lie is or how small the truth is. If you tell it over and over again, ultimately, you will control that person's mind.
And we have a Skype caller on the line here. Skype caller from the 1111. State your name and where you're calling from. Caller, you there? Okay. change their mind. But nevertheless, folks out there, if you got a question or comment for Dr. Umar, feel free to call in. The number is 347-326-9139. Dr. Umar, we're going to take a quick break, and we're going to come back, and I see some questions popping up for you. I want to share and get your response on, you guys. So we're going to come back with more right. You guys, we are joined by no other than Dr. Umar Johnson, you guys, this evening. We're talking about the power of propaganda. And if you are just tuning in, don't worry, you still got time to tune in and hear the amazing knowledge that he shares with us this evening. If you're out there or if you're in the phone lines already, feel free to call in. The number is 347-326-9139. And all you have to do is press the number 1, and we will bring you up on the line so that you can join us back here on the show as well. And if you got a question or comment for him, he will love to answer your questions. Dr. Umar, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Awesome. And I did have a question as far as propaganda. And a lot of us, you may not notice, but we see a lot of that going on, especially when the media is involved. You know, when we see different things that are taking place in the communities and people are on site and they're reporting. Explain how the media definitely plays that significant role when it comes to propaganda, on how they share the stories and, you know, all of that.
Well, the job of the media is propaganda dissemination. That's why CNN has basically taken over the entire culture of news information distribution. If you notice on CNN, every day there's probably 5 main stories, CNN, headline news, 5 main stories, and you get the same 5 stories repeated to you over and over and over again. To do what? Massage the belief into your mind that this is actually the facts of the situation. See, the job of the media is not to report a story. The job of the media is to interpret the story from the vantage point of the power structure so that you're in alignment with your oppressor's opinion. This is the job of the media. They do not report the truth. They create the truth. And because it is difficult to get any type of information that is not directly controlled by the media, when you don't have any counter data to actually push back against or challenge what you're hearing, your brain is going to accept what it sees. If you had some alternative information, then you go through what's called cognitive dissonance. That's when your mind is being told 2 opposite things, and you don't have to reason within yourself and determine what you're actually going to believe to be true in the final analysis. But for most of us, all of the news we get comes from the corporate-owned media. There's 5 corporations in in the world that basically control all of the information you get. There's Walt Disney, there's General Electric, there's Turner T&T, there's Rupert Murdoch's News Corporation, and there's like 1 or 2 more. They control 95% of all information. And when I say information, I'm not just talking about the news. I'm talking about music. I'm talking about radio, television station, magazines, and publishing houses. When we talk about media, we're not just talking about the news. We're talking about all forms of communication, whether that is music, whether that is movies, whether that is website communication, 95% of which are controlled by the same 5 companies, all of which sit at the table of the Bilderberger Group, the Council on Foreign Relations, the World Population Council, and all of which donated heavily to President Obama's campaign, Hillary's campaign, and will be donating heavily to Trump's campaign. And I point that out because African people have been propagated, when we speak of propaganda, into believing that there's somehow a difference between the way the Republican Party and the Democratic Party thinks about black people. You see it playing out right now with the election. Black people are going out of their way to demonize Donald Trump, who is a demon, but they're going out of their way to also evangelize Hillary Clinton like she's some sort of angel when she has never been a supporter of black people, has never done anything of significance to help black folks. She is a population control junkie, okay? She is a big population control junkie, and her husband Bill Clinton, when he was president, is single-handedly responsible for the mass incarceration of black men by way of nonviolent drug offenses. He's almost single-handedly responsible for the 3 strikes and you're out, mandatory permanent sentencing law for federal convictions. And he's single-handedly responsible for kicking millions of black women off of welfare during his presidency. So I really don't understand how Hillary Clinton could be any better than Donald Trump. The devil is the devil, and there is no lesser of 2 evils.
Hey, Dr. Umar, are you there?
Yeah, that wasn't my phone.
Okay.
I don't know what happened. That was
okay. I got you back. I got you back now. A guest had a question. This comes from Edward Haynes out of Sacramento, California. He says, with the election coming up, what do we as African Americans need to do to see some changes in this country and in the laws? What can we do?
Understand how politics truly operates and understand that power is the basis of all politics. In other words, we should not be concerned with who becomes president because the agenda towards black people will be identical, whether it is Trump or Clinton. It does not matter who wins. The black agenda is consistent and has been consistent for 44 different presidents. Nothing is going to change as it relates to how America treats black folk until black people force a change. You cannot demand a change. You cannot vote for a change. You cannot march for a change. You have to organize and force a change. Marcus Garvey said you cannot beg for your place. You cannot demand your place. You have to make your place, which is to say that at this present time, we should be about the business of political economic organization and empowerment so we can use our power to force change in this country. Unless we're going to do that as Frederick Douglass did it, as so many others did it, nothing will change for us. We might as well all go dig our ditches today because as it is right now, without organization, the only road left is extermination.
Wow. And we have another caller here from the 678 area code. Last digit is 9953. State your name and where you're calling from.
Hey, B-Fly, this is Sherry from the Crisis Mind Show. How you doing?
Hey, we're doing great. We are on with Dr. Umar Johnson. You got a question or comment for him?
Yes, good evening, Dr. Umar Johnson. How are you?
Peace and love, Queen.
Thank you. Are you familiar with convict leasing?
Yes, I am.
Great. My question to you is, do you feel that the way the society is and the way the law enforcement and the judicial system is treating the black Americans, do you feel that identical to how convict leasing started?
I would say working for a white person, period, in America is a form of convict leasing. As Millie Fuller talks about, we're already incarcerated, greater incarceration, and then there's more refined incarceration. So that's all they do now is lease us. Before they owned us, and now they lease us. I simply lease you for 40 hours a week or 20 hours a week or 60 hours a week. We have to recognize that we are an incarcerated people. So I totally agree with you. They lease us out on their jobs every single day as opposed to having to own us outright. And when we look at the Emancipation Proclamation, which wasn't relevant to any state in the country at all because Abraham Lincoln allegedly freed slaves, he had no authority to free because because the southern states, the Confederacy, had already seceded from the Union. Emancipation speaks to transference of ownership. A lot of people don't understand this. Emancipation Proclamation was about a transference of ownership. Liberation is not emancipation. Okay, liberation is freedom. Emancipation is freedom from one master only to be exchanged for servitude to another.
Absolutely correct. That's the same thought process I have. It's so identical.
Awesome. Absolutely. You got another question or comment for Dr. Umar?
No, not yet. My next question is going to be, we should go on the Practice Mind Show. That's the next question. because I like this kind of conversation. So great. You guys are awesome. Keep listening.
Anyone who would like to invite me onto their platform for an interview conversation, all you have to do is send me an email to drumarjohnson@yahoo.com. Let me know what day and time your show comes on, and I will choose a date for you. So if it's Wednesday at 2 or Thursday at 6, let me know the day and time, and I will choose the date. You can also text your request to 215-989-9858, or you can call and leave it on my voice message at 8444-Dr. Again, that's 8444-DRUMAR. I just only ask that the conversation be relevant, as today's is, that it doesn't focus on gossip or sensationalism, because I don't have any tolerance for that.
Absolutely. Thank you, Sherry, for calling in.
All right, B-Fly. Talk to you later.
All right, you guys. Absolutely awesome. And, of course, Dr. Umar, I definitely wanted to talk about, as far as, and as you mentioned, and the media and so forth, and the changes that we want to see. We covered the election, and so Jared from South Carolina wants to know, are you simply saying that when it comes to election and voting at our local polls, we, in fact, should not vote?
Okay. Let me clarify. For the presidential election, you can vote all you want. You don't choose a president. So it doesn't matter to me whether you voted or not. Your vote does not matter. Okay? White people's vote does not matter. The power structure chooses the president. The United States Constitution is very clear about this. I was a political science major in undergrad. This was made very clear to us that people do not choose presidents. The only relevance that the popular vote has to this election of the president is that the popular vote informs the power structure as to who the people want. That is important because from a propaganda standpoint, you like to be in alignment with the people, or you need to put the people in alignment with you. For example, right now there's a big problem with the presidential election because Donald Trump is clearly the choice for white folks. Donald Trump is clearly the choice for white folks. However, the power structure wants Hillary. So the reason Donald Trump receives 85% negative press through the major media outlets and Hillary Clinton receives 85% positive press is because the power structure is trying to massage you and manipulate white folks into changing their support for Donald Trump into support for Hillary Clinton. Let's take the year 2000 election. In the year 2000 election, Al Gore beat George Bush. He beat him in the popular vote. He won the popular election. But George Bush got the White House because 2 more electoral college members selected Bush, even though nearly 1 million more citizens voted for Al Gore. So in your lifetime, you have seen it yourself that the people's vote do not matter. Black people, once again, from a propaganda standpoint, are suffering from the illusion of inclusion, the belief that your vote matters. Your vote don't matter. White vote don't matter. You don't choose the president. Now, by contrast, when we talk about state elections and local elections, I think voting can be a rather effective strategy to help support the implementation of the black agenda. Notice I said voting could be a strategy to support the black agenda. Voting is not the black agenda. The problem with Negroes is we are so damn lazy that we want voting to be the be-all and end-all because we don't want to get off our asses and do anything, and we don't want to dig in our pockets and spend anything. So voting can support implementation of the black agenda. Voting is not the black agenda. And it is also important to state that until we organize and chain our votes together, voting will never benefit black people locally, statewide, or nationally, because in a democracy, the majority rules. America is an alleged democracy. There's more white people than blacks, and there's almost more Latinos than blacks. So you're not even number 2 anymore. You're number 3. So that means you have to bring your votes together and leverage them as a block of power so they can be used to help you. But as long as we keep on identifying as Democrat, identifying as Republican, choosing between Hillary and Trump, that is a mistake. What we should do is divest from membership in all major political parties and then start black political unions in every state, and then we leverage our votes irrespective of whether the candidate is a Democrat or a Republican to get the most for our votes. What do you do when you go shopping in the supermarket? Are you dedicated to buying Frosted Flakes from Kellogg's, or are you open to getting the no-frills Frosted Flakes from Pathmark? And are you even still open to getting the new brand of Frosted Flakes? What is going to determine which box of Frosted Flakes you pick up? First of all, you're going to look at the ingredients, and once you see that they're consistent, you're going to look at how much you get, and you're going to see that that's consistent, and then you're going to look at the price. And ultimately, whichever product is going to give you the biggest bang for your dollar, that's how you shop. That's how you shop. Black people don't do that. We will go in and pick up the Kellogg's Frosted Flakes just because it's Kellogg. Because it's Kellogg. We ain't going to check it out. We ain't going to look at the ingredients. We ain't going to look on whether the box of Frosted Flakes is stale. Because it's Kellogg's and we love Kellogg's, we're going to buy it. And that's exactly what we've been doing with the Democratic Party, which is why they don't take us serious and Republicans don't take us serious either. It's time for a political paradigm shift in black America. As I said, organization or extermination.
Absolutely. And of course, and Dr. Umar, as you mentioned earlier in the show, which I want people to be aware of in case they're in the areas, you're doing your college tour, your first annual college tour.
Yes.
Tell the folks about this college tour, because you are definitely covering a lot of areas. So give the folks the details on this college tour.
Yes, ma'am. Indeed, I'm very excited about it. I want to thank the Most High God as well as the divine spirits of the universe and my Egun ancestors and the Gungun collective African ancestors for making this a possibility this summer. I had to cancel it last year because of financial challenges, but this year I was able to save up enough money to help the parents pay for their children's tour. So we're going to go from June 30th to July the 14th. We will be hitting a whole bunch of colleges as well as Black history landmarks. What makes my college tour unique is it is a Black college and consciousness. Black college and consciousness tour. So yes, we will be going to Cheney and Lincoln and Howard and Bowie and Coppin and Morgan and Delaware State and University of Maryland Eastern Shore and Hampton and Virginia Union and many other colleges. But in addition to that, we will be going to the Malcolm X Center, the Audubon Ballroom where Brother Malcolm was murdered. We will be going to the Apollo Theater. We will be going to the Great Blacks and Wax Museum. We will be going to the Nat Turner Revolutionary Trail. We will be going to the African American Civil War Museum. We will be going to the Reginald F. Lewis Museum, the Philadelphia Zoo, the Baltimore Aquarium, the Lest We Forget African Holocaust Museum, Dorney Park, Great Adventures. I mean, it's fun involved as well, not all learning, because I want them to enjoy the 2 weeks as well, but it is a mix of education and exposure to some of the greatest minds in African history and some of the greatest places in the African experience. And so, again, June 30th to July 14th, we have about 2 spots available. It's $2,000. That is the fee that parents must pay. And Dr. Umar Johnson pays for the rest of the tour, which is approximately $1,500 more. So I saved up my money to help the parents with that. And so it is a joint venture. Me and the parents, we're financing this together. And if anyone has a son or daughter between the age of 11 and 17, and you can get them to Newark, New Jersey this Thursday, the day after tomorrow, between 3 o'clock and midnight. We would love to have them on the tour. We have a coach bus, bathroom on the bus. They're going to be watching conscious videos, DVDs, movies. They're going to watch the Tuskegee Airmen, the Marcus Garvey story, Men of Honor. I mean, there's so many movies I got lined up for them to watch. So even when they're on the bus, they're receiving an education. At the hotel room, I will be hosting seminars, and obviously when we go to the different sites and attractions and universities, they will be getting another education. It is my goal that on July the 14th, when our parents show up to pick their children up or when we drop those children off, because some of them are going to be flying in, being trained in, or mega bus in. It is my goal that when their parents see their child, they will know before the child even speaks that Dr. Umar Johnson, with the help of God, changed my child forever for the best. I'm going to transform those babies in 14 days. They're going to learn more in 14 days from Dr. Umar Johnson than they have learned in public school for more than 180 days a year.
Absolutely. Because
and if I may say, if anyone would like to make a humble donation to help Dr. Umar Johnson cover the remaining balance of the college tour, if you would like to help me make the ends meet, please donate. You can donate by way of PayPal.me/Umar the Psychologist. I repeat, PayPal.me/UMAR, T as in Tom, H as in Heather, E as in Early, Psychologist, PSYCHOLOGIST, Umar the Psychologist, one word, PayPal.me/Umar the Psychologist. You might want to help pay for a kid's meal one day, pay for their admission into the Lest We Forget Museum, pay for their admission into the Great Blacks and Wax Museum, whatever you can donate. If it's only $10, that will cover an admission. If it's $20, that will cover a meal. If it's $50, that will cover a half-night stay at the hotel. So anything that any of you listening to this show can afford to help me with covering this tour, I ask you to humbly make your donation. Anything will be accepted.
Absolutely awesome. And it goes back to what you were saying earlier in the show about, if things are told to us, we begin to believe it. So you have these kids, and so they're able to go around and get this exposure and get this knowledge. And so they believe that they can adopt these principles of the people that they are learning about, and that they can go and create their own businesses and create, their own schools and so forth. So I love the fact that you are definitely taking teams, especially at the age of molding things within them and giving them that exposure. I definitely believe that is an awesome experience. Dr. Umar, I also wanted to ask you, were you guys still, at one time you were raising money for the St. Paul's College in Lawrenceville, Virginia. Are you guys still doing that as well?
Oh, without question.
Okay.
Tell us
a little bit about that. St. Paul's College in Lawrenceville, Virginia.
Yes, the St. Paul's College is a historically black college that closed 3 years ago. The college is still for sale. Truth be told, I don't think anyone is interested in that college more than I am. I did hear some disturbing news that they may have sold the Student Center, which is a relatively brand new building on the campus with a state-of-the-art bowling alley in it. I heard they may have sold that to the local community. I hope they didn't, but it sounds like they did. Nonetheless, the rest of the college is still there. At this point, I am on cruise control. Because St. Paul's is still there. The donations are still coming into FDMG Academy. We are near, or will soon be passing, the $700,000 mark. When you go to the GoFundMe site, I think we are passing $300,000 right now, but that is not the sum total of the donations. Most donations are mail-in, so we are actually about to pass $700,000. I believe that we will hit $1 million by the end of the summer, at which time I will go back to St. Paul's College and see if they're willing to give up the school. But I'm not locked into St. Paul. That is my first choice. But I'm also considering building the school in Africa itself, and I'm also considering putting a school, buying a regular school building anywhere in America, and just starting, from the ground up and just buying a regular school. My concept is residential education. My concept, P. Washington, residential education. However, if I have to start with a day school before I can move to a residential school, then that's what we will do. So right now, our options are open. The money is still coming in. We want you guys to keep on donating. It's just a matter of when and where. It's not a matter of if. It's just a matter of when and where the school will come. I've also been told by way of spiritual advice that right now I need to be in cruise control. I need to just sit, be patient, and let the universe catch up to me in terms of the design and the destiny that it has in place for me. So I'm just going to be a little bit patient with the school program as I was advised to do spiritually.
Absolutely. 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 And I wanted to, of course, share this question with a listener who were listening earlier in the show. This comes from Justin out of Atlanta, and he wanted to know, with all of the marches and the protests that we have seen take place on TV over the last couple of months pertaining to a lot of the injustices that have happened with the killing of a lot of black people, why no progress? Do we keep on marching without anything happening?
Okay,
go ahead,
let me be clear. I am not opposed to marching because I see marching as propaganda. I see marching as a way for African people to galvanize other African people towards our collective work and responsibility. So, for example, I'm going to be hosting an ex-offender conference really soon. Conference really soon. And by the way, if anyone listening on the line would like to host the National Black Ex-Offender Conference in your city, it's going to be called the Underground Railroad, the new Underground Railroad, first annual National Black Ex-Offender Conference. Please let me know that you're interested in hosting with ideas on a venue that can hold at least 1,000 people. But nonetheless, you have to exert force. Marching gets people's attention, but it doesn't change anything. You have to use power. Let's be clear. Our relationship with white people is a power relationship. It is not emotional. It is power. Power. White people do what they do to black people because you let them do it. We acquiesce. We give consent to this. You don't have to participate. You choose to out of fear and convenience. Let me say it again. You don't have to participate. You choose to out of fear and convenience. You see, so if we want to change things, we're going to have to change the way we relate to the power system. How do we relate to the power structure? White people do something, we go march. White people do something, we pray. But you're not dealing directly with the structure. What did Dr. King do? He confronted the structure. What did Frederick Douglass do? What did Harriet Tubman do? What did Ida B. Wells do? What did confronted the system? We don't confront the system. You know what we do? We give lectures and we talk about culture and African history and becoming a vegetarian and all of this. And don't get me wrong, it's all relevant. It is all relevant. But it does nothing to change the power dynamic between black people and white folks. Until you confront your enemy in a systematic way that puts your power into action, you change nothing.